Good morning, everyone. Hope you're all having a wonderful day today. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Viridian RFX 35. This is, again, the brand new series of micro red dots from Viridian. This one here is for the larger RMR/SRO pattern slides. But before we get into the video, if you want to help me out personally, you can, of course, like, share, and subscribe, as all that is free and does help me out quite a bit. Also, go ahead and comment your least favorite micro red dot in the comments down below. Now, with all that out of the way, there's also Subscribestar, which is basically a pro to a Patreon, and there's also my website, which in theory has things in stock. Now, getting into full disclosure on the Viridian RFX 35, I have had this optic for quite some time. I had it pre-release for several months. I've had it for long enough that I lost the email about who originally sent me this optic. I did not pay for it. I did receive it not directly from Viridian, but from a marketing agency that works for Viridian, and then they contact me to do a review on it. So I've had this for probably about 6 months at this point, and it's only been out for maybe a month or so. So I've had a lot of time. You guys have seen it in a lot of videos. This has been on my personal Glock 17 that I carry and do a lot of shooting footage, which, as again, you guys will have seen on the channel. So I've had this for a very long time, and to not bury the lead, the optic did break on me. Now, to get into several minutes of caveats, this was a pre-release sample, and it did break at around the 1700 round mark. And now, I'm not particularly kind to any of my optics, and this one here has been no different. It's been dropped and beat up and banged against things on several occasions, and the failure, which some of you eagle-eyed viewers might have noticed, is that the front pane of glass has actually started to come off. So whatever sort of epoxy or glue that they're using to hold that lens in place, again, over about 1700 rounds and, you know, being fairly harsh on the gun for extended periods of time, that front pane of glass did start to work its way out. So as you currently see it, even though the optic might look good from a glance, it is actually currently unusable. So for right now, there's about a 100 MOA dot in the center of the glass, and my iron sights are here, and then the dot is there because, of course, that pane of glass has started to work its way out slowly as the epoxy just kind of gave up the ghost. Now, again, the two major caveats there is that, one, this was, again, a pre-release sample, so they actually had several months between when they sent me this optic and then when it went into full commercial sale to sort of iron out any kinks, so this might just be an issue with this specific pre-release sample. Also, this is just a sample size of one, and you can, of course, find other horror stories of people with, you know, just one-offs where something goes wrong on anything from any optics manufacturer out there. It's not particularly confidence-inspiring, but again, it is possible that it is just a one-off situation. Now, at this point in time, I've already been in contact with Viridian customer service, and I have no doubt that they will take care of me, as this optic does come with a 7-year warranty, so it is still definitely within that warranted window. So we will, of course, have an updated review within the next 6 months to a year or so after they get either a repair or a new sample out. Now, before we end the video, we should at least go over it because I did actually get to spend, again, about 6 months with the optic. I put a lot of rounds through it, a lot of dry fire with it, and right up until it broke, I was actually going to recommend it as sort of a more competition or target focused dot. So, getting into some of the specifics of the RFX 35, I believe they have the RFX 25, 30, 35, and they kind of get bigger in each iteration. So this is actually the largest in their micro red dots. So Viridian, if you don't know, they do mostly green for all of their optics. So they're all green dots, and they make some other scopes and accessories as well. They make a weapon mounted light and camera. So they have some interesting tech out there. Some of the stuff does seem a little gimmicky, but there's also some fairly cool stuff floating around. Now, getting into the RFX 35, as you can probably tell just by looking at it, it is fairly large for a micro size red dot. In fact, the viewing window is actually 22 by 26 millimeters, meaning that it's a lot bigger than more like rifle-sized optics as well, so it does have a very large viewing window. Now, I can get away with using like a Holosun K optic or something that has a smaller window, and it works just fine. You don't necessarily need a big window, but having a big window is nice. Now, Viridian also uses green for all of their stuff, so this one here comes with a 3 MOA dot, which for me personally, somewhere between a 3 and a 6 MOA dot is perfectly capable inside of 100 yards. It's very fast to acquire, and the dot on the RFX 35 is no different. Now, to my eyes, it does seem a little bit bigger than 3 MOAs. I would estimate it actually at about 6 MOA personally, but again, they're rated at 3 MOA. The dot itself is nice and crisp, especially when you're outside in full daylight. daylight. For some people, red just doesn't work and green looks better to them. I know people comment on some of my videos when I do a red dot versus a green dot, and they'll say red looks terrible and green looks nice and crisp. So for certain people, certain eyes, astigmatisms, or what have you, green will look a little bit better. Now, this does use a 2032 battery, and that combined with a green LED emitter gives you a battery life, they claim, of about 30,000 hours at a middle setting. Now, usually when I was outdoors, I was having it towards the top end, if not the highest setting. It definitely gets more than daylight bright. I'm usually shooting it in direct full sunlight, and on the top setting, it gets more than bright enough. I like to have just a little bit more brightness than I need personally, and if you can, of course, modulate that down if you need to have a lower brightness setting. Now, also very nice on the RFX 35 is it has auto, I believe they call it their instant on technology, but it's basically auto on, auto off. After 2 minutes, it will automatically shut down. Then when you pick it up and move it, it will still turn back on, even though this one here has issues with the glass. All of the emitter, all of that sort of stuff is working just fine. I have not noticed it turn on whatsoever. Every time I go to draw it out of a holster or what have you, pick it up, it is already on. So I have not had any sort of failures there. And with that 30,000 hour battery life, probably more realistically like 10,000 hours of battery life, but with that auto on, auto off, unless you're carrying it again 24/7, it's still probably going to last you at least a year or two. And again, at 6 months, I have not changed the original 2032 that they sent out with it. Now, getting into the body itself, it is unfortunately made out of 6061 T6 aluminum versus the much stronger 7075. Now, 7075, generally speaking, is anywhere from 1.5 to 2.5 times the strength of 6061. And when we're talking about a micro size red dot that tends to be a little bit more fragile, we would like to see 7075. For instance, I believe all the Holosuns are either 7075 or titanium. You can get their titanium models, of course, as well. Now, this optic does come in, even for its larger size and footprint, it comes right in at 1 ounce. Now, if you combine those two facts together, you'll know that what you're getting is a weaker material in general than 7075, and then you're also getting a very lightweight body for its size. That means that they are, removing as much material as you can, plus they're starting out with a weaker material in general. So that, for me, kind of eliminated this optic already from more of a duty role, as I just don't have that much confidence in the actual optic body itself, as there's really not all that much aluminum here, and it is the weaker 6061. So if this encounters a really harsh drop, like dropping it from shoulder height or whatnot onto a steel target, it would probably impact the shroud so hard that it would crack the glass, or something else could go wrong. Again, it's just not necessarily confidence inspiring. However, I think where the optic shines, and where I kind of mentioned earlier, is as a competition or a target focused dot. Most competition shooters, they don't need special reticles or whatnot. They're looking for something between a 3 and a 6 MOA dot. If you like green dots, this is one of the few on the market. On top of that, it does have a huge viewing window and a very good battery life. So I think it makes a lot of sense in sort of that competition or target dot role, not really a self-defense duty, just because it's made again out of weaker material in general. This one here, of course, broke on me as well, and then it's also very lightweight. I would rather see a little bit heavier of an optic with a little bit higher quality material. It's a little bit more confidence inspiring in that regard. Now, again, I did actually carry this optic on this clock for a long time, and again, I have used it almost 2,000 rounds at this point, plus a lot of dry fire. And again, up until filming the intro of this video, I was a very big fan of it in that sort of competition role. You can, of course, use it for concealed carry, though it is quite a bit bigger and it's a little more fragile, so it's not something that I would consider ideal. Now, another selling point of this optic is that right now I believe the MSRP is $289, which is like a step below most Holosuns. You can find some Holosuns cheaper. However, Optics Planet, they don't have them in stock currently. They have them on back order for, I believe, $209. And that is a heck of a deal for a large window red dot with a RMR or SRO style footprint. Now, again, unfortunately, this one broke on me. We will be doing an updated review at some point in the future when we get a new model in and a lot of time with it. So, the last thing we haven't really talked about is going to be the controls and the glass. The glass quality itself is actually very good. There's very little distortion. There is a little bit of magnification, something about perhaps 5%, so maybe a 1.05 magnification to it. I didn't notice any sort of parallax issue. I was able to take it out to 80, 90 yards consistently without issues. And for most people, that's a little bit outside of the real world use case for it, unless you're doing some sort of crazy competition with it or something. In terms of controls on the optic body, we have two rubber buttons. We have a minus button on the right-hand side and a plus button on the left-hand side for adjusting your brightness. I believe you have 10 different brightness levels, 8 daylight and 2 night vision settings. You also have recessed windage and elevation screws. Now, from what I remember, they don't have tactical clicks or adjustments. It kind of just turns until you get there. They did have a good firmness to them, but again, they don't have any sort of clicks. Now, the reason why I don't really remember is because it was quite some time ago when I set it and forget it. And one thing that is nice is that over the last 2,000 rounds, I have not adjusted the zero whatsoever. So it did hold zero just fine to the optic body. I didn't have any issues with that. Again, the main issue was the glass on the front end starting to come out and break loose of the optic body. Now, in terms of how this is mounted to the slide, this is direct mounted via 2 Torx head bits. I believe they recommend 18 inch-pounds. I believe I did like 22 with red Loctite. And again, the zero, other than the glass moving, the zero itself did not shift or move whatsoever in about that 1,700 rounds. So if the optic didn't fail for me, I would probably be saying something like this is a very good option for sort of a budget and competition or target focused red dot, as again, if you can find it for the low $200 mark, that is a very good price for a dot of this size and quality, again, if it didn't break on me. But since the fact that it did break on me, it's kind of a big dark cloud over all of those positives. Now, again, we will hopefully be doing a follow-up review with another sample, get another 1,000+ rounds on it, maybe do some drops on it, see if it holds up. And if the full production sample passes with flying colors, then maybe we can attribute this just to a simple fluke. But with all that out of the way, guys, that is the video. Let me know what you guys think of the Viridian RFX 35 or really any of the new Viridian red dots or green dots in general, as I do actually have some other ones to test and I will be bringing you videos on those shortly. But with all that out of the way, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you in the next one. Peace out. Uh-oh. Dot die? What happened? Uh-oh. 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 What the heck just happened? Okay. Oh no, are you kidding me? Oh, the front glass came out. No way, dog. Oh no. No. The front glass actually is popping out of it. Damn, that sucks.